Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today I want to talk about keeping up. A lot of comments I've seen from the player base are are saying they're concerned with trying to keep up with the game, the pacing of the characters and the new raid and the new GL and stuff. It's a lot, right? It absolutely is a lot. And they're concerned about how they're supposed to keep up. They're concerned about how they're supposed to continue working through this. And so I want to kind of take some time here, kind of give you some aspects and tips and tricks to keep up with this game. It is something that is an art, right? There is an art form to keeping up. There is an art form to managing the resources that you get in-game, and if you are someone who's spending money, managing the way that you spend your money, that you're getting the most out of it. One of the common reasons I see players burn out is they're not managing their resources properly, get behind on something, and then have no escape, right? So we're going to talk about keeping up. We're going to get into all of this, so please like and subscribe, comment down below. I want to give a shout out to our channel members, as always, for their continued support. These folks are just awesome. I cannot tell you guys how much it means to have them as a part of the Fat family. If you guys are ever interested in joining, that link is below, along with a link to our Discord server. I just, again, I am so blessed to be able to create content on a game that I love and to have a community as supportive and as awesome as you guys. So, I, again, very much appreciate it. Let's get in here. Let's talk about keeping up in 2025. All right, folks, so the first piece of advice I have, and this is going to sound, like, oh, I knew that, but we're going to deep dive. You've got to analyze the long-term benefit of what you're going to work on. Is it going to help you now, and is it going to help you later? Don't just think short-term. You've got to think long-term, and that can mean, like, what's the outside use? With all the raid characters that are in the game, right? There's a lot of that new, you've got that whole tab of raid characters. Realistically, what is going to benefit you the most now and later? Like, for example, Jedi Master Mace Windu, if you're not going to get Jocasta, is that worth spending to get Mace Windu, or worth investing all this stuff to get Mace Windu only to be missing a linchpin to his team? Is it worth you getting the dark side clones if you don't have Lord Vader, right? There's still a lot of data to be seen there of how good they are with Tarkin outside of the raid and against normal teams. They look good in 3v3. That's what, Omicron's active, so how do they look in 5v5? How do they look elsewhere? The new Bad Batch, outside of the raid, there's not a lot of great things that they've done that maybe some other team doesn't do, but maybe there comes along something where they are beneficial. So just look at your account and figure out where that usage is. And if it's not going to benefit you, don't feel like you need to invest. I didn't build the Separatist droids for this. Like, my Magna Guard and B1 have been at those relic levels for forever. Don't feel like you need to invest just because they're a raid character. There are plenty of raid characters that I have skipped on over the years. It may not look it because of the size of my account now, but if you went back, and just to show you guys, like, if you go back to the Crate Dragon raid, I mean, look, I didn't do Jawas, I didn't have Tuskens, I did not have a lot of great relic levels on those teams. Speeder Bike raid was a similar situation. I didn't build the Ewoks, and the Ewoks were some of the best characters in this game. I stuck with primarily what I'd already invested in for Galactic Legends and other Journey Guide things. So don't feel bad if that's the decision you have to make. That's okay, right? Long-term benefit is so important. I don't want you guys spending resources on something that's only going to help you in the raid. Get that impact outside of it, particularly if you are free to play. This is so important, right? So don't feel like you need, so the way you keep up is that you don't feel like you need to do everything. Only the stuff that's of long-term benefit to you. And also to an extent, like, don't say, oh, I'm going to get the dark side clones because eventually I'm going to have Lord Vader. If you're not planning to build Lord Vader in the next, however many months, maybe that's not the right decision then. We're talking like you've got Lord Vader and you would benefit from clones, or you're close to Lord Vader and clones would be something you'd want. That's different than like, okay, I'm, eventually in 3 years, I'm going to farm Lord Vader, right? So make sure you understand that benefit and outside use there. Next thing, it is okay to hoard. One of the biggest mistakes I see players make when they're trying to they're like, oh, I can't keep up, and they don't have any resources hoarded. If you know I'm going to go for Mace Windu, I'm going to build this team, start saving resources, start hoarding. Don't let Zetas and Omicrons burn a hole in your pocket and go spend them on someone, and then you get the character that you really wanted, and, you don't have anything left. Like, it is okay to hoard, especially if you know what you're hoarding for. As a guild officer, I will always tell people, I don't care about you increasing your GP or bloating it. I care that you have a plan for your resources, that you're using them in a way that's beneficial. And if that means saving them for those characters that you're going to be upgrading later, go do it. So, and it also, like, partial investment. When you're trying to keep up in this game, remember, you can always add gear. I can always put extra relics on Ayla. I can always put extra Omicrons on Jocasta. I can always add things to a character. I can't take them away. Once something is on there, it's permanently on there. There's nowhere to get it off. So that partial investment is so crazily important. I was telling a lot of the community, I said on my live stream last night that one of the things I said to somebody was they had the new Bad Batch team. And I was like, you're in a position where you'll be able to figure out just how many Zetas you need on the new Bad Batch in order to score in the raid. If you start getting a really good score with no Zetas on the Bad Batch, then you might feel like, why would I spend the Zetas if I'm already getting a decent enough score that adding the Zeta isn't going to benefit me enough? If they completely suck without their Zetas, that's a different situation entirely, and then you have to, make that decision on, okay, you invested in this team, how far are you willing to go? But maybe you try like one Zeta or two Zetas and then kind of work your way down. And that way, if it is a resource that's scarce for you, you're not putting a Zeta on a character that isn't going to help in any way, shape, or form, right? So just, it's okay to hoard, and, that partial investment is key. That has saved me so many times where I just like, all right, we're going to wait, we're going to figure out what works, and then I'll kind of move from there. So very much make sure you do that. Next, avoid Arnold Syndrome. All right, what is Arnold Syndrome? And I love, by the way, we are pro Arnold. I love Arnold. I have nothing but respect for him. Arnold Syndrome is players watch him, see the way he spends resources, and don't know all the little things that he does behind the scenes to make that stuff happen. And I feel like on his recent live streams, I've noticed where you can see that and I say like, quote unquote, the wheels are falling off. He didn't have enough Relic 8 materials to take Mace Windu and all those characters to Relic 9 for the raid, right? He didn't have and he said, because I don't like to spend on Relic materials. I thought that was I'm so glad that happened on his stream, because I think it shows you the very real side of what he's saying. Many of you have purchased Lightspeed bundles, or many of you have invested heavily in some teams, and then you get to that point where you're like, I don't have any Zetas, I don't have any mods, I don't have this, I don't have that, because you didn't spread your resources out, right? And so I just call it Arnold Syndrome because he's the biggest creator, but it's just a syndrome of you don't spread it out the way you spend your resources. If you're only going to wail on the character shards, you're going to be short on gear, you're going to be short on Zetas, you're going to be short on everything else. And if you're only wailing on gear and you're only wailing on signal data, you're not going to have any character shards. You've got to combine them together. You've got to marry it up. And Arnold is also in a very different position than every other player, almost every other player in this game, because of where his account is. The needs on his account are so different than the needs of a 10 million, 7 million, 6 million galactic power account. He doesn't have to worry about trying to gear up all of these older characters and add signal data there. He just has to do it on the new thing. So, don't, again, pro Arnold here. I just call it Arnold Syndrome because he's, the biggest creator, and so many guys watch him, so many players watch him and try to emulate that, which is great. It's a great form of flattery, but you've got to recognize all the work that's going in behind the scenes to what he's doing to his account to get it there, and that a lot of that work that foundation was laid through years and years of playtime. So, I would love to take my Bad Batch to Relic 7, but I know that realistically, I might be able to take them to Relic 7. I could probably take them to Relic 7, but do I then have the resources to be able to do the rest of what I want? And that's where you're like, crap. So understand that point where I have the ability to Relic 7 these guys. I have the ability to Relic 9 these guys. But is it really worth it? right? What's it going to stop me from doing? And so that's kind of why I call it Arnold Syndrome, is Arnold will be like, yeah, just take him there and, he's done. But his account and mine, two very opposite ends of a spectrum. So I wanted to at least share it like that. And again, nothing but respect for that guy. Like, without him, I would be scared for where this game would be. The last thing, trying to keep up, you've got to hammer Conquest. Falling behind in Conquest is a death sentence. It is 1000% a death sentence. If you are waiting, if you are constantly waiting for Proving Grounds to get your characters to 7-star, it's a problem. Now, I recognize that some of you might not have the account by the time you hit 4 million galactic power to max create a Conquest. But you want to put yourself in as good of a position that you can hammer Conquest when appropriate, because the Conquest characters make such a difference. They add immediate boost. They get really, really good. You think there's going to be 3 Conquest characters available in this in this Order 66 raid. Jocasta, Smee, and Maz Kanata. All 3 of them are going to be a part of this raid. So if you are someone who's lackadaisical with your Conquest because you're like, oh, it's too much of a grind and I get intimidated, like, you've got to hammer it because you're missing out on some really key core features, characters that are going to provide you with a lot of benefit in this raid. So I hope this kind of helps you guys factor in how to catch up. That, don't get like Arnold Syndrome, right? One, hammer Conquest. Don't fall behind in Conquest because you'll get left behind. But with Arnold Syndrome there, like, know when it's okay to just go to a lower relic level. Yes, you have the ability to go higher, but you need those resources elsewhere. I made my, living in SWGOH off of doing the bare minimum. That I would rather, do more raid attempts to get a max score with less invested than invest more, right? So yeah, know where you need to stop so that way you have those resources to build the next thing and the next thing. And maybe they're not as high of relic levels, but they're still allowing you to progress and get good rewards. Next, it's okay to hoard. It's okay to partially invest. Those are so key, right? Like, that is one of the biggest lessons I learned was don't let resources burn a hole in your pocket. Have things in that, hey, save it for a rainy day. That rainy day, that emergency fund has come in handy for me so many times where because I had stuff available, I could equip something and take advantage. And then finally, you've got to think bigger picture. You've got to think long term. What's going to benefit me now and later? What is the outside use of whatever those things are? Because there's a lot of characters in this Order 66 raid that outside of the raid did not have nearly as much benefit. Whereas some of them have a lot more benefit outside of the raid. Just think like Hondo Onaka is now required at Relic 9 for the new GL Hondo, right? If there's a potential that he's really, really good for the raid, why would we not potentially try to upgrade him and work through that? Maybe Enfys Nest is another one who's really, really good for the raid, and maybe she gets required for Hondo, and if that's the case, bump her relic up, try to take advantage of that. So, I just wanted to bring that up because I felt like those were some really good things that you can think about, right? Just some food for thought for you all. I hope this helps you because, listen, I get that catching up, there's a lot of characters, but you don't need all of them, right? Unless you are in the end game, and by that point, it's pretty easy to keep up because you don't have anything else to do. So, again, guys, I hope this just provides some framework on how to keep up with everything because it is a lot. I do understand. I will be live streaming my first raid attempts. We'll talk about the best teams to use. We'll get into, some of this stuff. I know there will be a lot of other creators doing that, but I'll give you the Fat Phil take, give you the Fat Phil, Order 66 farming guide per se of here's where the best investments are. Here's where you can cheap out. Here's where you need to beef up, and we'll work from there. So like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, my friends.